Hey, architecture firm owners and emerging leaders. Get ready for unparalleled insight into the development of a world-class architecture firm and a worldwide organization driving the digital transformation of the design and construction industry. With Build Smart, the podcast that's changing how our profession operates. We share the incredible stories behind innovation in the building industry with my friend and co-host, Patrick McLeamy, FAIA, former CEO of the international architecture firm, HOK.
You know, Yamasaki's office or firm lasted during his lifetime. And when he passed away, I think that was the end of the Yamasaki office. Helmut did not want that. He wanted a firm that would live out and grow beyond the founders.
In Season 1, discover the untold stories behind HOK's meteoric rise, from 150 employees in St. Louis to a powerhouse with over 1,900 staff members and 27 offices worldwide.
You know, they weren't as polite as the Kojima people. That was just boom. And anytime you have a creditor, whether it's Kojima or the bank, that wants their money, unless you can raise money someplace else, you are out of business.
Bankrupt. And hold on tight for Season 2, where Patrick takes us on a new adventure as chairman of Building Smart International, shaping the future of digital transformation in the design, construction, and operation of built assets.
Ian Howell, Ken Harold, and I, Ken was my technical representative from HOK. The three of us took a tour of Europe of 5 cities in 5 days. Very busy time.
Simply follow the link in the show notes to subscribe to Build Smart now and uncover lessons that will transform you and your architecture firm. Hey, architecture firm owners and emerging leaders. Get ready for unparalleled insight into the development of a world-class architecture firm and a worldwide organization driving the digital transformation of the design and construction industry. With Build Smart, the podcast that's changing how our profession operates. We share the incredible stories behind innovation in the building industry with my friend and co-host, Patrick McLeamy, FAIA, former CEO of the international architecture firm, HOK.
You know, Yamasaki's office or firm lasted during his lifetime. And when he passed away, I think that was the end of the Yamasaki office. Helmut did not want that. He wanted a firm that would live out and grow beyond the founders.
In Season 1, discover the untold stories behind HOK's meteoric rise, from 150 employees in St. Louis to a powerhouse with over 1,900 staff members and 27 offices worldwide.
You know, they weren't as polite as the Kojima people. That was just boom. And anytime you have a creditor, whether it's Kojima or the bank, that wants their money, unless you can raise money someplace else, you are out of business.
Bankrupt. And hold on tight for Season 2, where Patrick takes us on a new adventure as chairman of Building Smart International, shaping the future of digital transformation in the design, construction, and operation of built assets.
Ian Howell, Ken Harold, and I, Ken was my technical representative from HOK. The three of us took a tour of Europe of 5 cities in 5 days. Very busy time.
Simply follow the link in the show notes to subscribe to Build Smart now and uncover lessons that will transform you and your architecture firm. My name is Mark R. LePage, and you are listening to EntreArchitect Podcast, where each week I speak with inspiring, passionate people who share their knowledge and expertise, all to help you build a better business as a small firm entrepreneur architect. This is episode 295. And this week at EntreArchitect Podcast, Value Engineering. There is a better way. My conversation with Andrew Zukoski, founder of Join.build. This episode of EntreArchitect Podcast is supported by our platform sponsors, ARCAT, the online resource delivering quality building material information, CAD details, BIM specifications, and so much more at arcat.com, and FreshBooks, the cloud-based accounting software that makes running your small firm easy, fast, and secure. Spend less time on accounting and more time doing the work you love. Andrew Zukoski, welcome to EntreArchitect Podcast.
Thank you, Mark.
Andrew Zukoski is a co-founder and the CEO of Join Incorporated. Join is a venture-backed software startup whose tools help commercial construction teams square cost and design, getting the most program and design out of finite budgets. Andrew's background is in software development, first in 3D printing and architectural design, and for the last several years, the construction industry. He received his undergraduate degree in electrical engineering and visual art from Rice University. Andrew and Join are members of the current cohort at the AEC Accelerator 060. Last week, we had Herman Aparicio, the co-founder at 060, on the show. And so for an introduction to 060, you can go back to that episode. That's episode 294. So entrearchitect.com/episode 294. We'll give you that full conversation and that background on 060 and what it is. Essentially, 060 is an accelerator, which invites companies to come in and work with 060 for resources and support and all that kind of thing so they can grow very quickly. And we'll get into it a little bit with our guest today. And after I spoke with Herman last week, I thought it would be great to invite some of the founders working with 060 to learn more about their companies and to learn more about their ideas for improving the AEC industry. So before we get into that, Andrew, I want to learn more about you. So go back to where you discovered your passion for what you do today and give us the origin story of you to where you find yourself today.
Yeah, I can do that. It starts with a radioactive spider in the streets of New York and goes from there. But
well, this is going to be a good story.
Yeah, if only. A little more prosaic. I grew up in Illinois and went to school in Texas, and then I eventually landed in the Bay Area and walked in off the street to a 5-person software startup that was building. It wasn't even really a software startup. We were creating 3D printed hand and wrist braces, and I'd had a little bit of experience writing software, doing code, and things clicked well with the team, and they hired me.
Was that after Rice or before Rice?
Just after Rice.
So you graduated and then found yourself over in the Valley.
Yeah, with about 9 months of bartending and working in a lab and an internship and road trips in between. Sort of standard early 20s stuff, I think.
Sure, living life.
Yeah. But yeah, so came into the San Francisco Bay Area in 2010, 11, sort of early 2011, and joined this early stage team that was working on some really interesting problems around 3D printing, where we were, the team was founded by industrial designer Scott Summit and a orthopedic surgeon, Ken Tronner. And they were playing around with the idea of using cheap new 3D scanning technology and emerging 3D printing technology to create customized orthotic and prosthetic products. So they started with...
Very, very early with 3D printing, right? In 2010, 2011?
Yeah, there were two big hype waves for 3D printing. One actually in the early 90s, and then this more recent one. It was, the Bespoke got started a little bit before sort of the big run up in attention in sort of 2012, 2013.
Right.
And so, getting sort of into that scene early, if you will, meant there was just this ever building, energy and excitement around it, which was pretty cool to see up close. But yeah, so I was a software engineer on the team. We were working on prosthetic fairings, so lower limb prostheses, have a bunch of issues. Mostly, one of the big ones is that they don't look like legs, and so we had developed a system where we would take the shape of the mirrored leg and 3D printed onto the prosthetic and mate it with the residual limb, and you'd end up with something where if you were wearing pants, no one would know that there wasn't a real leg under there, and if you weren't wearing pants, people would see your like crazy chromed out, prosthetic. I mean, it was really taking it from being something that was sort of, either medical or there were people who were trying to hide and making it this like amazing personalized, point of pride. And we're done, a few other products, hand and wrist braces for people who are suffering from scoliosis or for suffering from carpal tunnel and other hand and wrist conditions, and then scoliosis braces as well for the typical scoliosis patient, if you will, is a 12-year-old girl who's just got a diagnosis, and the recommended treatment is that you stay in a brace that goes from sort of below your hips to the top of your armpits for 22 hours a day. And existing braces, and the alternative is what's called spinal fusion surgery, and that's just as much fun as it sounds and has just as many long-term consequences as it sounds like it would.
The brace is the good road.
But it's a tough one. You wear it for a long time each day, and you wear it for months, if not years. And you're 12 and probably in middle school. And I don't know what your middle school was like, but wearing a giant brace around middle school I went to wouldn't have been sort of an enjoyable experience.
Yeah, I currently have a 12-year-old girl. My daughter is 12 years old, so I could imagine, or I really can't imagine, what that would be like for her to have to do that.
Yeah. And so what, if you mentioned an alternate path, which is what we developed, where, instead of being this big bulky thing, you need to wear a big sweater over to hide. It's, a quarter-inch thick, like you can wear a t-shirt over it and hide it. It just like conforms exactly to the shape of your body. And you're just a little bit less sort of labeled as being a person wearing a brace moment to moment. So we were working on products like this. I was a software engineer on the team, and so I was working on technologies around 3D scanning and 3D scan reconstruction, and then some design technologies. And this was sort of the really interesting problem here that stuck with me, is that when you're creating braces like that, you have this pretty tricky problem where the brace has certain functional requirements, and it also needs to conform exactly to the shape of the person. Like if you imagine typing away developing carpal tunnel, it's going to have a brace that's going to stop that has certain functional properties. It might have clasps on it. It might have a design pattern on it. But it also needs to conform to the shape of my arm. And one of the problems that we worked on was just automating the 3D design of those braces. So building systems where you could express design intent and then, have that design intent embodied across, tens, hundreds, thousands of scans, sort of with a push of a button. And that company was eventually acquired by 3D Systems. It's a large international 3D printing company. I spent a few years there, but one thing clicked for me there, at least me personally, that the sort of previous year of working in a lab and interning and working in a bar hadn't, which was this connection between developing software and sort of the real world, where we were developing like digital tools. They sat inside our computer. Like you can do it, like, sort of programming is this very powerful thing in a way, because you tend to control, the whole universe inside the computer. Sometimes it feels like you don't, but unlike things in the real world where you're constrained by physical laws or dealing with other people, where people are going to make their own decisions and they might or might not do the thing that you want. Like, inside a computer, you have this illusion of complete control. And what was interesting about those projects was, for me at least, was that this sort of digital world, which is kind of, I enjoy, is kind of fun, was connected out to like, physical things in the real world. We would sort of manipulate, type things on our computer, and then new things would appear out in the world and be different and like, hopefully sort of impact people's lives.
That's a very interesting, I've never heard of that put that way, where a software developer, somebody who's spending a lot of time writing code and developing the software, and that their mind like becomes one with the computer over time, that you're where anything is possible, right? If you come up with an idea, you can create it in the virtual world, and then that virtual world, you can leverage that by taking some of those ideas and bringing them out into the world and making the world a better place by doing that. But it's an interesting idea that anything is possible when you're working in a computer.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's restricted to computers. I mean, I feel a lot of what may be attractive about like the architecture profession is that these design decisions that people make, and the sort of design action, whether it's happening on a computer or on paper, it's this really leveraged set of actions and information that gets developed where you can. I mean, if you think about the sort of stack of drawings that gave rise to like the Empire State Building or the Golden Gate Bridge or something like that, it's like you can fit it on a couple of tables, and you can discuss it and you can change things, and you can in a way have this whole building in your head and push it around and make decisions and think through scenarios, and then when it goes out and gets built, tens, hundreds, thousands, potentially tens of thousands of people are going to use and experience that building for hundreds of years at sort of the extreme. And so I think there's that's something that I always thought was sort of interesting about the architecture profession as well, was that kind of leveraged capacity to affect the world, that like starting from something kind of small and contained, more contained than a gigantic building. Because I know large design projects are pretty sprawling. You end up having this sort of outsize impact elsewhere.
I definitely see that. I didn't see the parallel before you brought that up, but that's very interesting, and it's the same thing that we experience as architects when we're designing. That we do. I do that all the time when I'm designing a building. It becomes real to me that I'm walking through it and I'm experiencing it. And then when I go to the site and it's not yet there, I'm always surprised that it's not there because I've been living in it for months. And so it's
What do you mean it's going to take 18 months to get out of the ground? Like I've been living in it already.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. It's interesting, the connection between software and architecture. Very, very similar.
Yeah. I mean, I think not all software is like that, because a lot of software, does amazing things, but doesn't necessarily bridge outside of sort of a digital realm, if you will.
It never becomes
like a lot
physical.
Of you end up shuttling bits or information around and presenting it in new ways on pieces of glass, and radically changing people's lives and workflows as a result. Like if you think about the many ways that software can sort of positively or negatively impact us. I thought I had stumbled onto something pretty special when I started finding there were these places where you could kind of poke around on your computer, and then buildings would end, or the first braces would end up being different in some way.
Yep.
And so I was, from there it's just sort of a hop and a skip to the architecture and construction space. 3D Systems was a large, well, it was a couple thousand people, so much larger than the sort of 10-person company that I had kind of enjoyed. And I at some point decided that I wanted to look for a new opportunity, and I came across this company, Flux, which was a another venture-backed startup. It was a Google X spin-out, and it was building a set of computational design and data tools for the built environment. And there was a lot of the sort of fundamental problem that they were trying to tackle. I've tried a few times to sort of bake it down. It was a company with really wide ambitions. Was that, projects start from a blank sheet of paper, and there are not, like, one of the things that's amazing again about software is that like once you can take something complicated that and if you turn it into a software program and you can set it up in the right way so that other people can interact with it, then way more people can answer the questions that previously only you could answer. There's this sort of like leverage that happens again with encoding intent into software. And looking at the sort of founding team had spent some time inside of Google X looking at a variety of projects, and they had said, okay, there many different people have sort of developed an approach or a practice or sets of patterns that bring value to architecture and engineering, but there are not good ways for them to sort of wrap that into software and then make it available on more projects than they can physically themselves do. And so like a classic example is like simple fire egress stairwell layout, or like ADA compliant bathroom layout. Just like it's not about taking necessarily sort of the really client-facing aspects of the design and automating it. It's about taking this stuff where it's like, okay, like we've done this,
right, all the
tens, hundreds,
yep,
over and over and over and over, and like every once in a while a mistake happens, and then there's just all these consequences of that. And Flux thought that they could build tools and a system and a platform where those problems could be solved, and then as a result, sort of two things could happen. First, the knowledge workers present in the architecture and engineering space would be able to develop economics that were based on sort of the value of what knowledge and ideas they had, instead of the number of drawing sets that they could turn around, to sort of develop sort of new revenue streams for architects and engineers. And then second, so that just like many, many more buildings could benefit from the sort of the touch and perspective of expert designers. Because I forget the exact statistics, but I want to say that it's still the case that most buildings don't have an architect involved.
That's correct.
And that's just like, it's like it boggles my mind every time I think about
it. Boggles our minds as well.
Yeah.
So what the company's, was it FLOX?
FLUX.
UX, okay. Because I'm sure everybody's Googling it right now, trying to find some information on it, because it sounds very interesting.
Yeah, it was very interesting. It was, you're sort of like thinking, if this is a origin story, thinking through the sort of drawn out trajectory, noticing the like venture backed theme is pretty consistent. Flux sort of lived and died by venture funding, and raised a ton, spent a ton, had trouble sort of navigating that, and then eventually folded. Or
so it
pivoted.
So it did pivot. All right. So it didn't. What did it become?
It became a company called Helix that is doing digital twin creation, so sort of site scanning and existing conditions scanning, and then software around that. So cool stuff. Yep. Good project. But the Flux was unfortunately not able to quite make it work.
Was it too early for them, or was it just too wide of a mission, or what happened to them, do you think, in your opinion?
In my opinion, I think the biggest issue was that the mission was I mean, the mission was wide, and that was good. The vision for attracting employees and early partners and customers and investors was big, and that was really good. But being able to focus in and have a path where you start delivering value to the market without boiling the entire ocean,
Sure.
that we did not do effectively.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a big lesson as you moved on.
Yeah, tons of lessons for me there. So I don't get a ton of credit for what Flux did. I think maybe some blame, but I was on the engineering team. I ran a couple of the engineering teams there. But what was cool about it, there were some just lessons, but then also just a chance to learn about the industry, and Flux sort of had the Google name attached to it, and that opened a lot of doors.
Sure.
So it meant that in a relatively short period of time, people who worked there were able to learn a ton about this, fascinating and amazing, architecture and construction industry. And sort of when I decided to move on from Flux, there were a bunch of problems there that I thought just like, these problems are real. We tried and, we didn't nail them, but that doesn't mean they're not, not good problems. And it doesn't mean that, other people won't be able to solve them. So we, after a few months, I got together with another engineer that was on the Flux team, Drew Wolpert, and, another engineer I knew from my 3D printing days, actually, and then Jim Forrester, who was sort of finishing up at New Forma, and we set out to, start up Join and tackle some of the problems that we're now working on today.
So what is Join, and how does it work?
Yeah, it's a good question. So Join's a cloud-based platform for project teams to collaborate around cost-related decisions. And if Join's, what we want to do, if we got a mission with this existing platform or product, it's to make it so that no more projects go through bad value engineering cycles. And there's this information gap between people who are making decisions that affect, the design and the schedule and sort of the budget, and the implications of those decisions, whether it's, what the material alternatives are and which materials will work and what that means for example, embodied carbon, and as well as cost. And we think that software can help bridge that and make it much lower friction to go back and forth between a design and a budget or an estimate earlier in construction projects, and as a result, just take a ton of problems out of many people's sort of day-to-day lives. I mean, like, value engineering has a pretty bad name.
Yeah. As soon as you said that, you got a lot of attention from the people who are listening. And the fact that you're focused on trying to solve that problem, the attention is focused right now.
Yeah, and we're really riding a wave of shifts in project delivery method, and we've been working more with larger firms, but we're seeing, we think, market-wide, a continued shift to design build and CM at risk project delivery methods. And goes, a shift to that from traditional project delivery definitely has consequences for the sort of, relationships and structure of the team. But we think there are real opportunities there to deliver better projects. And what's key there is the construction team being contractually involved earlier, and then aligning people so that people are, working together iteratively earlier in the process to understand where things might go a little off course and what the options are to take it forward. And so when that happens, really amazing things can happen, because in the old way, once you get to value engineering, like, The contractor's pretty unhappy. They probably are the least unhappy about value engineering, but it usually isn't scheduled for.
Right.
And so their schedule is being thrown up in the air, and they're having to lean on their trade partners whose relationships they have to be really careful around that to provide more estimates and more ideas and just do more work. The owner is usually, they're without, if you need to do it, without value engineering, you can't get the project out of the ground. So to some extent, maybe they're like, okay, fair dues. But at the same time, we've had so many owners express to us like, yeah, we spent so long understanding and articulating what our priorities were in a project. And then it went into VE and like, we don't recognize what came out the other side. Like, we had it was someone on Facebook's real estate team, and Facebook takes sort of sustainability in their real estate and data center operations pretty seriously. And they have all of these goals and they work on them through the design phase. It goes into value engineering, and in bad value engineering, which is what we're going to avoid, everything gets thrown up in the air all at once. Everything is on the table. Like it's this chaotic process where a lot of decisions get made really quickly without necessarily like consulting everyone who might need to be involved. And as a result, the priorities that have been nursed along like can get lost, and you just don't know what comes out the other end. And then of course, design teams like hate it right. because they've poured themselves, they've lived in these buildings for months already, and then they go into a room where someone is sharpening a gigantic pair of scissors, or at least might appear that someone's right. in there with a big pair of scissors, and like out comes like just this like tattered, like shredded set of drawings. And we think that sort of two things are going to help with that. One is the shift in project delivery method, which we do believe is good for sort of the overall projects. And two, we think a little bit of technology can help, people have transparency and an understanding of what's going on in these projects between all of the involved parties in a way that, everybody can have a better experience.
Does your method require the design, build, or construction management process to be the delivery method?
No, it doesn't require it. We're pretty early. The product's been in use for a little under a year. So we've been working mostly with sort of ENR top 100 contractors and their design and owner partners. And so we've done a few dozen projects for maybe a little over $1 billion of construction value to date. Mm-hmm. So that's just want to give numbers because
sure, context,
when I say a trend, it's like a trend of like 3 instead of 1 project or something.
Yep. But the industry, I believe the industry is moving in that direction. Anyway, I think the big companies are certainly doing that. But even I hear that in the small firm community as well, that there's a lot of interest in working in construction management and design build in order to have more control of the entire process. We'll be right back to our conversation after this quick break to say thank you to our platform sponsors here at EntreArchitect, ARCAT, and FreshBooks. Have you been to arcat.com recently? It's the #1 most used website for finding building product information, and it has a new look. ARCAT has updated their site to get you the data that you want that much faster. Their search now allows you to choose what kind of information you want, like CAD, BIM specifications, and you only get those results. Just that data, that's all you're going to get. ARCAT is also constantly fine-tuning their search engine to make sure you keep getting the information that you ask for, fast and easy. Of course, it's still free and it requires no registration, not even a login. It doesn't require any email. It does not require any money. It's free. If you need building product information and you haven't yet used ARCAT, it's time to go check it out. If you've never tried ARCAT, head over to arcat.com and try it out. You'll be glad that you did. That's arcat.com, ARCAT.com. Go check it out and let them know that EntreArchitect sent you. In case you were wondering, 192 hours works out to about 2 business days every month. 2 business days. Well, why the math? If you're an architect and you're using FreshBooks cloud accounting software, that's the amount of admin time that you can save every year. How? Well, FreshBooks is so fast and so easy to use that it changes the way that you deal with your paperwork. FreshBooks is the simplest way to be more productive, more organized, and most importantly, it will get you paid quickly. You can create and send really professional-looking invoices in under 30 seconds. And when you email a client an invoice, FreshBooks can show you whether they've seen it, which puts an end to that guessing game on, whether they got that invoice or not. If waiting for a client's check in the mail is slowing down that cash flow, with literally 2 clicks, you can set yourself up to receive online payments. Oh, and your clients, they will love paying by credit card straight from their invoice. FreshBooks helps you avoid having that awkward talk with your clients about past due payments. FreshBooks automates late payment email reminders. This is my favorite part. So you can spend less time chasing payments and more time working on your projects. If you have any questions whatsoever, FreshBooks' award-winning customer service is amazingly helpful. They're super friendly and they have zero attitude. Plus, a real live person usually answers in 3 rings or less. To claim your month-long unrestricted free trial, go to EntreArchitect.com/freshbooks and enter EntreArchitect in the How Did You Hear About Us section. That's EntreArchitect.com/freshbooks. ARCAT and FreshBooks. Please visit our platform sponsors today and thank them for supporting you, the EntreArchitect community. Because that value engineering process is never really planned for. It's always a remediation. It's always something that we're trying to fix. Like we were over budget and now we have to fix it. And so it wasn't in the schedule. It wasn't in the budget. Nobody wants it to happen. And so in order to have more control over that, architects are moving towards that method of delivery across the board, from large firms to small firms, or at least being interested in that.
I mean, that's great to hear. I know that there's some trepidation around particularly design build if it's contractor led, because
Correct.
There's a perceived shift in power there.
Right. Yeah, I'm talking about
it's great to hear that the
architect led design build.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Yeah, more power to them. So one other thing we've heard from large firms is a trend towards clients writing into contracts sort of a design to budget, which can lead to really disastrous things because, if you don't get cost feedback and sort of pay attention to things and have the right transparency and access to information early on, you end up over budget, and then the firm is responsible for the redesign, which just blows project budgets. And yeah, we've heard that's sort of a trend that large firms are seeing. Have you heard of that in the small firms or?
No, small firms, they contracts are much simpler. Smaller commercial projects, especially with residential projects, it's a much more of a personal connection. You're still using contracts, but the contracts are nowhere near as complicated and involved as the larger construction firms are requiring. But I think that the sentiment is the same. I think that the architects across the board are feeling those same issues and trying to come up with solutions for it. And in my opinion, technology is some of the solution. Certainly, methods. Shifting methods and being open to those changing methods, which is a big piece of it. Architects are typically pretty focused on the way they've always done it. It's hard for them to look beyond that, although I feel that's shifting. I think with internet and technology, people are seeing that there are alternative ways of delivery and that there's benefits to some of those. But I think the trends typically start in the big firms, and then they work their way down into the smaller firms.
Yeah, that makes sense. Then I guess we'll see what happens with these design to budget style contracts, but it looks like they might be on their way then.
Which is interesting. Yeah. So how does Join.build fix that problem? That will fix the problem of value engineering.
Yeah, that's a great question. So what we're seeing with the shift to CM at risk and design build projects is that you end up with more intermediate document deliverables, and at each of those steps, the contractor is responsible for putting together an estimate based on it. And this is a challenge for the construction team for a bunch of reasons. Sort of the pre-construction and estimating functions inside of contractors have grown out of the design bid build methodology, which means that they're, traditionally have been oriented around a 100% CD document set and spec book sort of coming in and then needing to turn around a hard bid number, right, like just as quickly as possible. And just, you sort of 1 in 2, 1 in 3, 1 in 5, 1 in 10 that you bid, you get. And then you're sort of stuck with that number. And getting involved we're seeing teams are involved as early as like a 50% schematic design deliverable. And so they're working to put a number to it and provide cost information about where they think the project is, and then potentially working with starting to identify trade partners and getting their feedback on sort of, hey, are there constructability issues here? Are we, going to be in trouble around anything around the sort of myriad complexities of a construction project. And one of the big challenges there is that, of course, 50% schematic design document set, there's just a lot less there than, a full construction document set. And they're being forced to price the white. And then it's hard.
A lot of guessing.
And then, a lot of guessing. But the flip side of it is they get involved many more times. And so what we see is that a document set will come over, an estimate will be done, and then, the owner, architect, contractor team will get together and say, hey, like, here's where we are. Here's where, the sort of estimate is relative to the budget. I think we can both guess which of those is over the other, for most projects, it's sort of every step of the way. But usually it's over budget, ideally a little bit over, or just, maybe it's at budget. And then the team has an opportunity to collaboratively identify opportunities to bring the project forward. And what we're seeing is that without Join, that process is run out of, complicated Excel spreadsheets. And don't get me wrong, Excel is a magical tool.
Sure.
But complicated Excel spreadsheets and email that live on one person's computer, and these cycles are happening, maybe as little as every week or two for certain projects, and as maybe with as long a periodicity as a few months. But it means that in a few days or a week or two, any ideas that are going to come out need to be evaluated and vetted and passed through sort of a number of people who might have ideas or feedback on it, and then passed to the owner to be decided on, and then then the design team needs to pick it up and incorporate it into the design as it goes forward. And having that information and process locked up on someone's computer means that it's very hard for the wider team to access it. So the design team might, in the old way, only be able to see sort of what's on the table once a month in a meeting. And it isn't enough information, and it's in a spreadsheet that's complicated. It's just like hundreds of rows with dozens of columns, and it's difficult for the design team to make that actionable because there's a lot of creativity that the design team can bring to solving these problems when they understand what's going on. And so
and there's an interpretation between every one of those lines and rows, what that's referencing in the drawings. There's no direct connection there. You're looking at the rows and columns and making an assumption on what those rows and columns are identifying on the drawings.
Yeah. Like where, like you might see a certain material and be like, where in the project, like, is this used? And like, just being able to drill in and understand. So have summary information that helps the team orient around where problems are. So to just make it easy to say, hey, actually the project's doing pretty well, except for the atrium, and the atrium is like blowing us up right now. So like let's all focus our attention on the atrium here, and like let's see if we can make some changes here. And what this means is that the design team's able to better understand what's going on. They have a lot more access to information, that's a lot more easily understandable and consumable. And then the design team and the construction team both share a need for the owner to make sort of timely decisions as much as possible, right? Like, you can't choose all the finishes and then run around and like change the structural system, or like, decide that you want to go open floor plate instead of something else, right? Like both parties sort of share a need to guide the owner to make, decisions at the right time in the right order. And so just having this information be readily accessible for everyone, and then easy to understand, means that a lot of these things just happen with more transparency and more trust and less friction, which means that instead of it taking 6 weeks to get a set of decisions where the design is continued, now you can get those decisions in 2 weeks. So you just, like, if there's any sort of course correction that happens, there's that much less course correction that's necessary. And there are many more opportunities to be a part of the process and help the team as a whole, not, do anything, sort of throw the baby out with the bathwater, if you will. There are many more opportunities to advocate for like what's really critical in a design, to say like, oh yeah, I understand this portion is expensive, or this material is sort of like has issues with it, but it's a really critical design feature because the owner is very excited about, it's demanding that we deliver, a project with these characteristics. And so, yeah, this is expensive, but like, this is key. Oh, but these constructability issues you identified in another part of the project, just as an example, like, oh, great, let's go identify all of those. That's easy pickings.
Right. And so to take the example of the atrium, rather than just going after the atrium and taking down the design feature of the entire building that we all spent so much effort on and wanted, and ruining it, if there's other places we can go and easily identify all these other areas that can add up to a significant amount that equals then we can keep the atrium the way it is, or modify it less and take out all those other areas that are less impactful on the design and function of the building.
Yeah, exactly. And like the result of it is just like you just get a better project out. And like, we think there are opportunities for software to help people deliver better buildings, and helping make decisions like that is, one of the ways we think it's pretty impactful.
How is Join? What's the interface in Join? I mean, how does Join do that? How does Join facilitate that early communication and efficient communication?
Yeah, that's a great question. So Join's a web-based tool. So you access it through a browser, and there's certain information that needs to end up inside of Join, some of which is just uploaded or connected through something like a document management tool if you want to be able to quickly reference certain parts of the drawings, for example, or certain parts of a model, to say like, hey, when we're talking about this, we're talking about over here in the design, just for visual context. Cost data or estimate data tends to come in from the construction team, and then folks work to evaluate and develop and present all of this information, inside of Join. And so some information gets sort of entered or worked with directly inside of Join. There's a sort of a layer of 21st century workflow tooling on top of it. So there's, collaborative aspects of it. You can assign things, you can, attach due dates, you can sort of group and slice and dice the data in many different ways. And then you end up, for any decision that you might be making, like say, switch from a curtain wall to a window walled system because we think that it can be interior glazed and that'll save a ton of money, and as a result we'll be able to spend more money in the atrium, for example. All of the information that pertains to that one decision ends up in a single place where you have it collected and ready to present, so you make the most informed decisions, you don't make any bad decisions, and you get an audit trail of everything that went into it, because it's like in the sort of in bad value engineering, it's like so chaotic that why did we do this? Who decided this? How did we end up here? Like those questions are often impossible to answer. But with Join, you've got
and
this.
And usually
this,
you start asking those questions as it's being built, which is too late.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
are there? So it sounds like there's a document management part of it. Is there a collaboration tool section? I mean, can you meet inside Join as a team, like through video conference, or are you using other tools for that?
Yeah, typically, so we connect to document management systems, but the world's got enough document. I'm sure your customers are being overloaded with document management tools already. We integrate with those. We don't, we don't need to build another one. And then Join gets used in a few ways as part of collaborative experiences, but we're similarly not going to reinvent video conferencing.
Sure.
So it's a online tool. It's got sort of two ways that it's used is one, just sort of people interacting asynchronously through it. So sort of seeing updates come through from other people, responding to it, assigning it, that sort of thing. And then collaboratively, Join's used to run both proposal meetings, but then also sort of the weekly or biweekly owner, architect, contractor team meetings. I mean, it gets pulled up on a screen and sort of run through live. Or we generate well-formatted print views, so you can either have a PDF that you email around if you just want something that's a little simpler, or physical printouts, because a lot of people like something that they can hold on to. So we sort of facilitate pushing the information out both of those ways, and then people do with it what they will.
And what's the future for Join? What are you hoping that it can grow into?
Yeah, that's a great question. We think that there's this industry trend around project delivery method is really exciting because it gives, it sort of has wins for everyone in the industry, but we think it gives opportunities for transparency and collaboration to happen between people in a way that aligns them around delivering better projects. And we believe that in the long run, Join's a platform that supports sort of all of the parties involved in making these decisions around design projects in a way that they're able to leverage all of the information, all of their teammates on a project, information from past projects, what they've done before that has worked as well as an understanding of what the possibilities are in the wider world, so that Join can come to understand about projects, to be able to say, hey, hundreds of other projects have gone up like this. It's a 4-on-1 multifamily, building in Northern California. I can probably see three of them from, here in my living room, for example. Here are opportunities that other projects have found impactful to either take costs out or, improve the tenant experience, or boom, 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 boom. So yeah, we see ourselves sort of sitting in between and helping highly skilled, design and construction and development professionals deliver better buildings.
Are you accepting projects currently, or is it in beta where you're working with just a few to sort of build and develop?
Yeah, we're accepting projects right now. There's a I guess my contact info will probably be included with this, but on our website there's a form where you can reach out, and that goes straight to the team if anybody's interested. But we've gotten started with because they tend to be larger contractors. The projects have tended to be a little bit larger as well. Yeah. So we've been deployed on projects ranging from a little under $10 million to several $100 million. And we've got an interest in bringing that floor down, because they're like, probably again, most buildings, even, most projects, even most non-single family projects, probably cost less than $10 million. Probably cost less than $5 million, if not less than $2 million. And so we want to address smaller projects, probably not single family, but we're maybe not ready to have a really effective experience for really small projects just yet.
Yeah.
So I think given those qualifiers around sort of project size, where we really want people to have an amazing experience and come back and say, like, yeah, I'm using Join on every project going forward. Inside of that range of project size, bring it on.
All right. Sounds good. Join.build. If anybody wants to go check it out and learn more about it, join.build. Andrew, before we wrap up, I'd like to ask you the same question that I ask everybody who joins me here at EntreArchitect Podcast. What is one thing that a small firm architect can do today to build a better business for tomorrow?
Yeah, I would say figure out how to not charge fee for service. One of the biggest challenges that we've seen for large design firms mostly is that in a fee for service or like a paid by the hour way of doing business, it's difficult to adapt, or it's more difficult to adapt to the changing landscape of project delivery and technology sort of opportunities that are in front. And, we think that in the long run, business models that are oriented around, more around the value of what gets provided, whether or not that's leaning into design build and leading design build, or something else, and less around the number of hours spent pushing around design details, on a computer or in paper, are going to be the more profitable and more durable business models.
Very, very interesting. We could have another hour having that conversation. But very, very interesting. I think that's a wake up call for our listeners. And so play that back, go back and listen to that again, and listen to what Andrew just said, and respond to it, because that's the future of our profession. So start paying attention and being open to the change and the evolution of our profession, because I think that's we're starting to hear a lot about, and we've been hearing about this for a long time, of the obsolescence of the architect. The technology is going to take over, and other professions are going to take over. That will happen if we don't evolve and we don't change and we don't start adapting. And it's the way things work. But we will adapt and we will make changes, and we will survive and we will thrive. And so, Andrew, thank you for sharing that. Again, it's join.build. Go check them out. You can follow Join on Twitter as well. It's join.build, spelled out, JOINDOT, build, join.build. Andrew, thanks for waking up early. You're over on the West Coast. We're doing this early. It's a very interesting conversation. I love what you're doing over at Join. So thanks for sharing your knowledge here at EntreArchitect Podcast.
Great. Thank you so much for having me, Mark.
You're listening to episode 295. If you'd like to access the show notes or share this link with a friend, it's entrearchitect.com/episode 295. entrearchitect.com/episode 295. Hey, did you hear that we have a new workshop, a one-day workshop? We all have a plan, and we all have this idea of what we want our life to look like. Get more work, make more money, find better projects, work with the clients who value our skills and appreciate our talents as architects. We're all working so hard at playing this game the best we can, but with each passing year, it feels like it's getting harder and harder to make our dreams come true. Each year, we set our goals, and right about now, as the end of the year approaches, we look back and we wonder where the time was spent. It's almost 2020, and the goals that we set for 2019, maybe they just didn't happen. This year, let's do it differently. Let's set one goal. Let's make this easy. Let's identify the single most important goal for your firm for 2020. And let's build a step-by-step plan to make it happen. Let's actually make it happen this year. Join me on Thursday, November 7th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. live on Zoom online video conference for the EntreArchitect one-day planning workshop. This is the workshop that so many of the EntreArchitect community has been asking for. It's interactive. We will work together to get this done. It's time-focused. It's only one day. You just invest one day. It's actionable. When you're done, you'll have a plan for 2020. And it's value-packed. It's the lowest-priced workshop that we've ever offered. Every firm has a one goal, the single most important goal that such by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary. Yes, it's inspired by the book, The One Thing. Let's identify your one goal, and let's build a plan to achieve that goal in 2020. Let's make 2020 your best year ever. Invest one day with me, and I will work with you to get this done. Join me on November 7th. Register now at EntreArchitect.com/one-day. Spelled out ONEDAY. EntreArchitect.com/one-day. Join me. Love, learn, and share what you know. Thanks for listening. Have a great week.
Imagine earning continuing education credits while doing exactly what you're doing right now. Well, you can. Gable Media has revolutionized the way you earn your continuing education credits with a groundbreaking approach. Forget running around town and scouring the internet for credit-worthy courses. Fulfill your CE requirements effortlessly by listening to engaging podcasts just like the one you're listening to now. Our podcasts are designed to educate, entertain, and inspire, all in a user-friendly environment. But wait, there's more. Architects, Gable Media is also approved as an AIA continuing education services provider. Upon completion, we handle everything, from reporting your hours directly to the AIA to storing your certificates in your personal Gable Media profile for your self-reporting needs. So follow the link in the show notes and start earning your credits in the most innovative and entertaining way possible with Gable Media.
Attention architects and creative minds, get ready to supercharge your brand with Build Your Brand, the podcast that's unlocking the secrets of branding success for creatives. Hey there, it's Mark Arlepage, founder of EntreArchitect, and I'm inviting you to join my friend, architect marketing expert Jeff Eccles at Build Your Brand podcast, where he explores the captivating stories of the world's top brands and transforms their lessons into powerful moves for small firm architects and creatives like you. In Season 1, Jeff shares the thrilling tale of Southwest Airlines, where he dissects their journey to the summit and distills it into strategies tailor-made for you.
It's important to keep in mind that companies like Southwest compete in the real world, just like you, and face real-world challenges, just like you. You might be surprised at how similar those challenges are to the struggles that you grapple with on a day-to-day basis.
Don't miss out on your blueprint for success. Subscribe, tune in, and let's build your brand together.
You may have noticed that the very best brands in the world are also known for having somewhat unique corporate cultures. That's often the glue that holds everything together when they encounter those rough spots.
We don't do it because it inconveniences the passengers to whom we are primarily dedicated, the short haul, frequent flyer.
Follow the link in the show notes to subscribe to Build Your Brand today. Remember, no matter the size, the journey's the same. Your brand's journey to the top starts here.